in their respective responses to the epidemic. I'm happy that the Kingdom has recently begun embracing the use of technology during the commemoration of World AIDS Day. Hence, some of our stakeholders, both national and international, have joined today's celebration through digital means. May I take this opportunity to welcome all persons who have taken their time to be part of this memorable day. The 2021 Global World AIDS Day theme, "End Inequalities, End AIDS, and Pandemics," resonates with our multi-sectoral HIV and AIDS response as a country. This is because inequalities remain prevalent in HIV and AIDS response as we strive to reach remote communities, providing services to all who need it without any form of discrimination and closing the gender gap in the access of HIV services. Eswatini is also alive to the many epidemics afflicting the country and causing jeopardy for people living with HIV. We are, however, working tirelessly towards ending AIDS. For this reason, the theme has been adapted to the local context in line with the vision of ending AIDS by 2022. The 2021 commemoration presents an opportunity to remind ourselves that while considerable progress has been made towards ending AIDS as a public health threat, the HIV epidemic is not over yet. Young people in particular remain disproportionately at risk. This is worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has seen schools closed for extended periods, resulting in high teenage pregnancies and incidents of gender-based violence, as an indication that our efforts in preventing of new infections must be doubled. We are proud, however, of the milestones we have achieved as a country when it comes to HIV interventions. That we have achieved the 95 milestone set for 2030, 10 years ahead, is something we should continue to celebrate. The daunting task, however, is to maintain and sustain epidemic control and turn the tide against AIDS forever, in line with His Majesty King Mswati III's vision of having an AIDS-free Eswatini by 2022. With the support of partners, Yemaswati have ensured that this vision is achieved even though the gains remain fragile. Let us continue with our unparalleled collaboration and teamwork to sustain and cement our gains. It pleases me to also note that in keeping with the theme, this year's commemoration is inclusive of different sectors of society in a bid to close the inequality gap. Inequality affects different population groups, such as persons with disabilities. I am encouraged to note that participation in the national response to HIV and AIDS, and it would be encouraging to witness more programs led by people living with disabilities. I therefore encourage all stakeholders to work on integrating the specific needs of population groups to the national HIV and AIDS response through designing programs and materials suitable for their use. Hearing that World AIDS Regional commemorations also embrace men was inspiring, as there remains a critical need to increase the uptake of HIV services by men. Regional dialogues highlighted some of the obstacles prevalent in the different Tinkunda centers as captured in the Eswatini HIV recent incident surveillance, such as increasing new HIV infections, men's reluctance to access HIV services, as well as increase in gender-based violence, GBV. Moreover, men are not adequately accessing and utilizing HIV services, which misses an opportunity to work with them and transform gender norms that contribute to new HIV infections among men and women. Although some programs do include men, it is reported that some typically label men as the problem or the transmitter of HIV. This not only reinforces the dangerous assumption that HIV prevention falls under the domain of women, but it also risks alienating men who might otherwise be open to becoming more engaged in the health, as well as being in the health and well-being of themselves and their partners. Failure to ensure that men's access to and use of HIV services yields predictable outcomes. Not only do men get sick unnecessarily, but their sexual partners, families, communities, and the health system that serve them are also harmed. May I implore men here today that as leaders and heads of homestead, you are expected to lead by example in health-related matters in order to lead long and healthy lives. As we get closer to achieving our goal of ending AIDS as a public health threat, great attention must also be given to the startling disparities in HIV prevalence among girls and young women and the structural vulnerabilities that perpetuate their risk in the context of HIV. While packaging programmatic interventions targeting adolescents, girls, and young women, more should be done to develop ambitious programs to engage their male sexual partners. This will help challenge harmful norms and advance gender equality. Gender-based violence is an opportunistic factor to HIV and can set the country back from the gains made in the response to HIV and AIDS. Gender-based violence has been shown to increase women's risk of HIV acquisition. The end of AIDS will not be possible without advancing gender equality. Men must be engaged to challenge harmful norms and gender inequalities, which perpetuate the risk and vulnerabilities of both men and adolescent boys. It is therefore prudent that health systems are strengthened to address the special needs of men and adolescent boys and specific structural determinants such as consent laws that pose additional challenges to access HIV services. Addressing these issues effectively means moving beyond blame and starting to develop interventions to encourage uptake of prevention, testing, and treatment for men. Such efforts must be informed by a human rights approach to health and inclusive of men in all their diversity, with particular attention to those men who are most vulnerable to HIV. In order to successfully address the blind spot around the HIV burden among men and adolescent boys, it is critical to count on the engagement of multilateral bodies, private sector, donor agencies, national authorities, and civil society organizations. Moreover, comprehensive knowledge of HIV among young people remains far too low. Therefore, comprehensive sexuality education is essential for young people to be able to protect themselves from HIV. It also helps young people avoid unintended pregnancy and other sexual transmitted infections, encourages them to seek out health-related information and services, promotes values of tolerance, mutual respect, and non-violence in relationships, and supports a safe transition into adulthood. Having said that, the country remains proud of the multi-sectoral HIV and AIDS response for the landmark of altering a crisis into a milestone. There is still a vital need to raise money, increase awareness, fight prejudice, and improve education. Greater mobilization of communities is urgently required to address the barriers that hinder communities from accessing health facilities. A strong advocacy role played by communities is needed more than ever to ensure that AIDS remains on the political agenda, that human rights are respected, and that decision makers and implementers are held accountable. Therefore, let us put people at the center of the response and aim to unite our communities and partners across and beyond the HIV response. At this point, I would like to appreciate our partners in the Eswatini multi-sectoral HIV and AIDS response, in collaboration in supporting the role of nature, such as the Ministry of Health, government sectors, UN AIDS, UN co-sponsors, the World Bank, and donor partners. Partners including Global Fund, PEPFAR, bilateral, other multinational, the private sector, traditional sector, and communities, civil society, and faith-based organizations, as well as people living with HIV who have risked their privacy for the benefit of other Yemaswati in ending stigma and discrimination. I would like also to thank the Embassy of the Republic of China, Taiwan in the Kingdom of Eswatini for the massive contribution they have made towards this year's commemoration. We have no doubt that the assistive devices meant for persons with disabilities will go a long way in improving their lives for the better. Let us focus our attention on transforming health and life outcomes for people living with and affected by HIV and create strategic priorities to maximize equitable and equal access to comprehensive people-centered HIV services, break down legal and social barriers to achieving HIV outcomes, and fully resources and sustain HIV responses and integrate them into the system for health, social protection, and humanitarian settings. The journey is never ending. We have battled with this pandemic for over 3 decades, and let us not lose focus. When adversity strikes, that's when you should be most calm. Take a step back, stay strong, stay grounded, and press on. Before I officially conclude my remarks, today is a double celebration moment as we are launching the second phase of the People Living with HIV Livelihood Program, supported by nature. I am delighted to see the massive amount of work being done in the various communities by people living with HIV support groups who have grabbed this opportunity with both hands. It is encouraging to see how far the program has grown since 2019, when the Prime Minister's office launched phase 1 of the project. We applaud Nature for the support, as I am told that the recruitment process for phase 2 support groups has been completed. This leaves me with only one duty, which is to mark the people living with HIV livelihood support project officially launched. Balawo magama singurhulumente wembube sithi sidimisele kunibambisa live kubambisa live kunqoba i-AIDS letinye tifo tekubandlulula. Thank you, may God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We shall humbly request you to remain on the stage whilst I request the high table to come up to light the candle, as well as to be joined by Kango Director, Mr. Bongani Makama, as well as Mr. Tsabetsa Jerome. Please do join the high table as they come up to light the candle. And the band will be playing for us as you make your way to the podium.
Chico. Chico.
taking the final photo shoot of the burning candles as we come towards the end of the commemoration of the World AIDS Day 2021. And all the dignitaries, you may now leave the podium back to the other tent. Umfana webhejisa ngicela alunge.
Chico, sawuhamba nje kahle siyele.
Let us welcome on stage umfana webhejisa. It's a countdown from 5.
Ngithemba ukuthi solo niyalandelela konke lebekuqhubeka lapha etulo ebuhleni kawo. Nesikhathi samanje sithatha ithuba lokuvalelisa emuva emakhaya. Sinivalelisa nje sithatha insambo sithi phosa itulo embabani. Lapho khona ke siyaqhubeka sisakadele nomsebenzi khona emakhasini abongqondlomshina. Songenele ke umfana webhejisa njengoba kumanje lapha itulo estage. Selayithiwe likhandlela ngolelo muhle. Leli lilanga lekubongata yona i-World AIDS Day. I-World AIDS Day lapho khona kujwa lilanga layo i-HIV. Sisensake nelive etulo nelive lapha isizweni sakahoho khona ebuhleni. Lapho khona ke bekuqhubeka nomsebenzi. Ngingaphuthisa maseko bona lomuhle ngiyawuvele ngithathe ingaba yami ngiphosa kuye ukufana wasekhaya Khimbali Mavuso usatenza into ekusakada lapha itulo enkoyoyo kumanje thina ke silapha itulo ebuhleni ngolomuhle lapho esekulethela khona ukugujwa kwalona ilanga layo i-World AIDS Day.
She said. How you feel? She said. Kuzoba nithi